I'm Matthew Davies, the Chief Product Officer at SureCloud. So a lot of organisations start often with either maybe a continuous assurance tool, or they may even start with a GRC tool or a kind of purpose-built smaller tool for one process. The problem with that is that as you scale, more and more things come into scope. Often you start with compliance, you'll have a bit of policy management, you might be assessing vendors, but that evolves over time. You've then got people and teams that need to manage those processes. As you do that, you need a system that can scale with you. Our system has those use cases or solutions built into it, and you can start with a simple solution like one of our entry packages, but you could take that, and as you get more mature, you can then say, actually, I need a purpose-built process for risk management, for IT risk management, enterprise risk management. You don't have to change. The other thing is very configurable. It allows you to change the processes to meet your needs rather than just the standard ones that organizations need. Simplifying security, automation, compliance is really one of the key things that at SureCloud we're aiming to do. Lots of organizations have challenges with managing repetitive, time-consuming tasks to just the act of stay compliant. If you think about this, organizations are often testing hundreds of controls, people spending a lot of time in order to do this. What we want to do is make that simpler, easier, and more efficient. So one of the ways that we're doing this is continuous assurance. So if you think about this, a lot of organizations have been taking a reactive approach to compliance for a lot of years. As part of this, it means testing, that it requires a person to go and say, oh, can you do this? Can you retrieve me this information? Then once they get that, someone has to check it and make sure it's valid. Well, there's a lot of inefficiencies in this process. If you think you could move to a proactive approach where you could say, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to test this and I'm going to check it in real time. So a lot of these controls, actually, you can say, I want to go and check it. So if we take an Active Directory and you want to make sure users are provisioned correctly, one of the things you can do is actually integrate to those systems directly, check them against best practices and make sure you're actually continuously compliant rather than manually checking it over and over again. Continuous assurance is moving away from manual testing. If you think most control testing requires a human to go in, retrieve some evidence and confirm it's working. Continuous assurance is moving away from a human being in place to saying, actually, I'm going to integrate to those systems, processes in real time and pull evidence and say, actually, is that passed or failed? Automated evidence collection is where organizations can move away from having to manually collect evidence from document repositories, files. They can actually go and link to things like Google Drive, SharePoint, OneDrive, Box, and pull across files or even whole file repositories and attach them to their controls, policies, procedures, so they can see the evidence in real time. One of the challenges that GRC's had is it's actually quite difficult for organizations to manage GRC, and the systems and processes in place have actually been quite labor intensive. At SureCloud, we're focusing on actually making anyone be able to manage GRC with our simple no-code interface, but also the ability for a lot of the things that you need to do day to day, like build your reports, to make simple changes. We're all putting the power back to the user to do that themselves. So we've heard from customers that one of the things they want is a simple and easy to use experience. Actually, they want it to be frictionless. A lot of organizations, people working in these or managing these processes aren't doing it full time. They need a really easy to engage with system. And one of the challenges you've seen with GRC systems or these types of tools is users haven't been able to engage with them and use them effectively. At SureCloud, we've built a very simple and easy to use interface which allows our users to adapt to it. It looks similar to things they've used before, and there's not that friction in order to onboard and get people using it. We've heard from a lot of our customers that they're struggling with the expertise and skills in order to scale their GRC processes. We've looked at what we can do to enable our customers to do this better, and one of the things we're looking at is introducing AI and machine learning into the platform end to end. But this will be contextualizing to enable what users need to do. For example, if you're looking at a third-party assessment, what you'll be able to do is look at, actually, can you summarize this information? Can you have a look at these free text answers and help us give an opinion of it? Could you look at documentation, check that it's a valid certificate? Or then look at things like policies, procedures, and go, actually, how compliant are they and align to the things we need to do? Stopping humans from needing to go in to check that, review it, and actually making the process much more scalable, and you get a much thorough review of what's going on. So what we're going to be doing is adding in things like allowing users to summarize information, provide recommendations, look cross tenants to go, okay, we've seen this similar in what you've done before, why don't you do this again? So a prime example is you assess a risk. One of the things that you have to do is apply controls of how efficiently we're mitigating that risk. Well, if we've seen a similar risk before and a series of controls, well, why can't we suggest that? Or another thing is when you've done a control test or a risk assessment, we go, well, we've seen these recommendations before, so let's apply this level of recommendation so you don't have to have someone thinking about how they mitigate that risk or how they fix that control. So if you think about reporting, the reporting end-to-end allows you to report on everything in the system, but we will apply an AI lens so you can start asking questions of it. So if you look at a report, a lot of the challenges you have is, okay, great, it's telling me the current state, but how did I get to it? What happened? We're going to allow you to start questioning and asking kind of prompts to reports to say, actually, this risk's like this, why is it like that? Or give me a view of the risk for this business area. So actually it can then go and retrieve that information and tell you why, rather than you just looking at the real-time data. We've got an event-driven architecture, but from a user perspective, what that allows us to do is organize and understand every single event that happens. And if you think an event could be any change, it could be an integration, it could be anything that happens in the system. We're recording that, but we're recording it differently in sequence. One of the things that you often get is when you look at, I don't know, a record or a database or anything, you normally get the current state and the prior. But what it doesn't say is, how did I go A, B, C, D, E, F, and G to get to where I was? Our system and architecture allows us to create a pattern of the events that happen and replay them back and forth to any point in time. So from a reporting, that gets really interesting because you can go, actually tell me my risk position at this exact point in time, but not only tell me it, but how did I get there? What events happened? And then when you talk on that AI angle, you can go, well, how can I learn from that series of events what happened before to either stop it happening again or get a better outcome next time? I mean, so if you think about a small GRC team, one of the things that you're struggling with is normally that you're resource constrained and you're time constrained. There's lots of things you're going to have to do. The fact that if you take the act of being compliant, they're not going to be 100% compliant, right? They're going to have lots of gaps in what they're doing. So prioritizing, understanding what's most important is hard. If you have to do that manually, which is what most larger organizations are doing, it's just not practical. Actually, you would think automation is even more key for smaller organizations. So it's great that they can manage their risks and the controls in our platform, but the big difference is we also help them be compliant and understand and prioritize the right things. So continuous assurance, continuous control monitoring allows you to know what's broke and how to fix it. If you don't have that, in a lot of cases, if you've got one person doing all that testing, it's not efficient because they'll do it once a year. You could be going 6 months without actually knowing there's a problem. Continuous assurance allows you to go, actually, we're non-compliant here, here, and here, and then you can make a call, or we can help you make a call to what is the most important. Because, look, there might be 5 things, but one of them is linked to a critical asset, system, or service. That's the thing that you need to fix first. So it takes from just not being compliant, it's like a risk-based approach to compliance. So actually, we're fixing this, this, and this first because actually these controls are linked to key risks or key business things that we need to resolve.
Your business assured.